So, ladies and gentlemen, I uploaded a video to YouTube that may never see the light of day. It was about the fall of the UK and this obnoxious, malicious retard who got up in front of everyone and said, yeah, death to the IDF. And repeated it over and over and expected the crowd to say it over and over. The reason you may never see that video is because, first of all, the clips of this person, even though I was watching it through, a reaction from Asmongold, it got copyright claimed. So they blocked it worldwide. They said that it was ineligible for monetization. They basically did everything they could to make sure that this clip couldn't see the light of day. On top of that, the video was limited by YouTube, which is very rare. YouTube very rarely limits a video. And I may just delete it because the story has already progressed beyond that, and this video may just replace it. So this guy, Bob Vylan, what a perfect last name for this guy, got on stage, and apparently I can't show you that because it'll get copyright claimed. And they were like, well, you have to trim out this section of it, which was the whole thing. I couldn't show this guy on stage doing what he did, which was get up on stage and say, hey, I got a new chant for all y'all. Deaf to the IDF. And everyone started chanting it, and he said it over and over and over. And then he said, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which we know is code. It is a dog whistle. We know what that means. And this guy has been dropped from his agency. He's been dropped by his agent. FAFO is really kicking in right now. Are people pleased to see Bob drop? He's entitled to his own opinion, but you know what he's not entitled to? Is to issue a violent call to action. And when you use that sort of rhetoric, that heightened radical rhetoric, that is, in my mind, a call to action. Yeah, it's insane. I'm 2 words into this. On one hand, a young mother was given years for saying less. On the other hand, I believe she had the right to speak freely. As much as I may hate and disagree with this chap, he also has the right to speak freely. Here's the thing. If he wants to say we should end the genocide, he can say we should end the genocide. If he wants to call what's happening in Gaza genocide, he has the right to say that. He has the right to say free Palestine. Even though it's a dog whistle, I think he can even say from the river to the sea. I think that's a terrible thing to say. But I think he even has the right to say that. But this guy got in front of everyone and said, deaf, DEF, it's DEATH. He's saying deaf to the IDF over and over. That is something that you can't say because it's a call to violence. Now, if you want to argue that, I think you're being disingenuous. I think you know what he meant. I think that you know the sort of sentiment, the sort of radical nature. And by the way, I criticize Hassan for being pro-terrorist and, making every excuse in the book for violent extremist terrorist. I'm not going to treat this guy any different. I think that what he said was absolutely disgusting and unconscionable. You can disagree. Like, this is where people lose their mind. I am America first, which means I want to put Americans first. America first means Americans first. I don't care about Israel. I mean, I think they have the right to exist, but they're not our strongest and greatest ally. They're another nation. They're a foreign nation. They have their own interests, and their interests are not my interests, and my interests are not their interests. We may collab sometimes, but they are their own country with their own religion and traditions and all of that. We are a different country. I am for putting our country first above everyone, including Israel. So, people hear me defending this, Israel. They go, "You're defending Israel." I'm not. What I'm doing is being consistent. These people who hate Israel, they have something in common. They're pro-terrorism, they're violent, they're extremists, and what is going to come as a result of their violent, vicious rhetoric is something that I do not want to see for my country or other countries as a general rule, because it's going to be very, very bad. And if you think Trump is a fascist, let me tell you, in the world that is to come, that is built off of your rhetoric and your inability to listen to people that are telling you that their opinions and that their views should matter, people that are nationalistic, people who are like, I love my country, I don't want it to change in favor of whatever nebulous, globalist, degenerate debacle you want to create. If you ignore those people and vilify them and call them racist and bigots and all of that, every time you do that, it increases the size of the inevitable explosion that's going to happen. Not an actual explosion, but in terms of sentiment. When that bubble eventually bursts, it's not going to be good for anyone. Oh, sure, it'll feel good in the initial. When you see the initial blowback and all of these terrible, evil, despicable people finally get what's coming to them, and you see them being treated in the harshest way possible, and you see them finally being held to account for their bad and evil behavior, it'll feel good for a very short amount of time. Because eventually that feeling of catharsis will wear off, and what comes after that is going to be absolutely dreadful. That's what I believe. I don't think it's going... I've never once seen in history where they have gotten together and done the things that I think are going to be done as a result. And then on the other side, it's like, okay, then we go back to peace and everything's great. Everything's wonderful. It's like it was. No, I think that once you cross that line, and the line has been crossed over and over and over and over by the left, but I think that once things get serious enough, I think that there's going to be a line that you can't cross, and they do. And that's when the bubble's going to burst, and I don't want to see that. And the way that you do that is by de-escalating. Yeah, de-escalating. So if this guy says death to the IDF, he loses his agency. He's publicly mocked and humiliated and condemned. And people have the ability to make fun of him forever and to make that as an example of why you don't say stuff like that. If you want to criticize Israel, criticize Israel. If you want to call it a genocide, call it a genocide. But to call for the death of people in the IDF, or to call for the death of people in Israel, or death to America, that is unacceptable. And it should be rejected immediately and vociferously. Now, I really wish that I could play the clip that started all this, but considering what they did last time, I'm not even going to risk it. If you want to go and watch it, if you want to go and watch the clip I'm talking about, maybe I can find it and give you a link so that you can go. Maybe you can go watch it yourself. See, the guy Bob Vylan, the Bob Vylan guy that sings "Deaf to the IDF" is literally owned by Zionist Jews, says this person here. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So this is it. I can't show you the visuals, and I can't show you the music, but Colin Rugg on here. I'm gonna retweet it. So if you go to my profile, it'll pop right up, and you can watch it for yourself, and you can make a determination. I'm frustrated because I want to show you the video, but I'm not going to deal with them. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with them. And by the way, what I want to say is to the people like this, it would be terrible if Death of the IDF started trending. You are courting chaos, and the result of which you are not going to like. They are not going to like the result of their increasingly radical and rabid rhetoric. I'm telling you that I think that the only way to deal with this is to tone things down. I mean, across the world, try to sue for peace, try to do anything you can to prevent the outcome that is going to be inevitable. Unreal. Unreal, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, YouTube, from my perspective, you do delete comments, I'm told, quite a bit. But when it comes to allowing my videos to be monetized and to be recommended, you've been pretty good. You've been pretty good. I haven't seen much shenanigans. I have seen some. There are some videos that do get the yellow dollar sign. And for those who wonder, why does it matter? Well, why does it matter that you get money? Why does it matter monetization? It's not about that. It's not about the money. You can say that it is, but it's not. What happens is when your video gets limited, the algorithm looks at that and goes, oh, this video is limited. So that means that I'm not going to be able to play ads on this video, so I'm not going to recommend it. So it doesn't get traction in the algorithm and people don't see it. So if I'm looking to create a video that gets as many views as possible to send my message out there, one of the ways to do that that's better is if it's a green dollar sign, a green check mark, basically, saying, hey, your video is good to go. Now, usually the videos come up green almost every time because in the videos I may swear, but I don't use racial slurs. I don't, I make jokes from time to time, but most of my stuff is actually, believe it or not, pretty safe, pretty harmless. The stuff that I talk about, while it may be extreme for, like Twitch, where they promote, far left terrorists like Hassan Piker, for the majority of other platforms, my content is pretty safe. It's pretty, pretty inoffensive. Unless you're a rabid ideologue. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to point this out. I think it's ridiculous that they were able to copyright claim it, and then they did the double tap of the demonetization. Obviously, there's somebody who doesn't want this to be shown, so I did my best to comply with that and not show the actual video, but talk about the topic because I do think it's important, and it shows that. First of all, the UK is cooked. The UK is absolutely cooked. You have a concert and they're waving Iranian flags, they're waving Palestinian flags. There's just this general hate and sentiment for anything that is anti-West, which is why people are going to have to start getting with the program and fighting for Western culture and not allowing people to tear it apart anymore. Because if you want to preserve the Western culture, which I think is the better culture, you're going to have to actually do something to fight for it. Because if not, it's not going to survive. It's going to be supplanted by something that you're not going to like. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.